You have probably noticed that artificial intelligence is everywhere now. It is in your news feed, your workplace tools, maybe even your children's homework. And you have likely assumed that someone, somewhere, is figuring out the rules for all of this. But here is the thing. They are not. Or at least, not in any way that is visible to the rest of us. There is a question hanging over American technology policy right now, and oddly enough, no one seems able to give a clear answer to it. How will the United States actually regulate artificial intelligence? Here is what makes this situation genuinely unusual. Artificial intelligence systems are becoming more capable by the month. Companies are releasing new models and new applications at a pace that would have seemed unlikely just a few years ago. And yet, when you look for specific details about how American regulators plan to govern this technology, the picture is remarkably unclear. There are broad conversations happening, certainly. There have been proposals at the executive level that have emerged and then been withdrawn or replaced, but a stable, comprehensive regulatory framework that remains conspicuously absent from the landscape. What we can speak about with some confidence is the scale of industry lobbying. Research from organizations that track corporate political influence describes the technology sector's lobbying operation as something unprecedented. One analysis from the advocacy group SOMO characterizes big tech as wielding an influence that even the tobacco and oil industries at their peak could only have imagined. The description includes references to bottomless financial resources and a sophisticated strategic playbook. This lobbying apparatus is active right now, with reporting indicating that these efforts are intensifying ahead of the 2026 midterm elections. When regulation does get discussed publicly, the conversation tends to divide along familiar lines. On one side are those who emphasize safety, transparency, and accountability. They point to potential risks ranging from algorithmic discrimination to broader concerns about systems that could cause harm if deployed without adequate testing. On the other side are those who argue that heavy regulation will stifle innovation, drive development to other countries, and ultimately harm American economic interests. Neither position is unreasonable on its face. The tension comes from the fact that these two priorities, safety and speed, are genuinely difficult to fully reconcile. You might not work in the technology industry. You might not spend your evenings reading policy papers, but this regulatory conversation will shape your daily life in ways that are easy to underestimate. If artificial intelligence becomes embedded in hiring decisions, the regulations will determine what transparency you are entitled to. If AI tools are used in healthcare, the rules will affect what safeguards exist between a system's recommendation and a doctor's judgment. If your children interact with AI in educational settings, the regulatory framework will influence how those systems are designed and what data they can collect about young people. There is a practical reason that 2026 has become a focal point for anyone watching this space. It is a midterm election year, which means the political calculus in Washington will shift. Congressional attention will be divided. State legislatures, meanwhile, have already begun advancing their own AI-related proposals, which means we are likely to see a growing patchwork of different rules applying in different parts of the country. The federal government will face mounting pressure to either establish a unified national approach or effectively cede the ground to state-level experimentation. The path chosen during this window will be difficult to reverse. What stands out about this moment is not drama, but opacity. For all the public attention that artificial intelligence receives, the actual process of writing regulations is proceeding slowly, often in settings that receive little scrutiny. The specific language of proposed frameworks is not widely accessible. The precise positions of influential actors are not always clear from public statements. In a real sense, the most honest thing we can say about American AI regulation right now is that the public does not have enough information to know what is being decided in its name. So this is where we are. A technology of enormous consequence is spreading through the economy while the rules governing it remain unsettled. An industry with historically unprecedented lobbying resources is making its case behind closed doors. Advocates for public interest protections are pushing in the opposite direction. And the actual regulatory outcome, the framework that will shape how AI is built and used for years to come, is still being determined. The question that lingers is straightforward. When the process finally produces answers, whose interests will those answers reflect?